Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Andre's tiny little surprise redemption arc he got at the end of season 5. And by Andre, I mean Andre the Mayor, not Andre the Ice Cream Man, but Andre the ex-mayor is now out of a job, so maybe he will become an ice cream man as well. I mean, not gonna lie, I'd absolutely love that. Two Andres, the ice cream men, wandering around Paris, shipping teenagers together. What more could you ask for from season 6? Anyway, regardless of what Andre is doing next season, we're going to be talking about this little redemption he kind of got at the end of season 5 and why it is disgusting. I don't anticipate this video being very long, since compared to Gaby Baby, who we did do a very long deep dive into his redemption arc, Andre doesn't have half as much screen time as Gabriel and some of the other characters do. However, I do feel like this plot point was prominent enough in my own thoughts and in my comments section and what I see elsewhere on social media, and it also annoyed me enough and a lot of other people enough to talk about it. Like the amount of people who were just like, I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, what?
Like, I am not the only person who's just like, why did you make this decision? Although at this point I think I'm getting into that sort of attitude with really everything in the show. So let's talk about it. Although there is going to be a content warning for this video for discussions of abuse, specifically emotional abuse. It's kind of all the way through it. Usually I would give a timestamp, but it's just kind of scattered throughout. So there's no real way you can skip around. So this video probably sadly isn't going to be for you, but I have plenty of other videos you can watch instead, and I will see you in the next one. So for everyone else who is staying, let's have a little recap. So Andre was the mayor of Paris from season 1 up until the end of Collusion in season 5, which is when Chloe becomes mayor because the writers got drunk when they made that decision. Andre is also married to Audrey, who is a she's like a fashion magazine editor. She's basically Anna Wintour, if you know who Anna Wintour is. But Andre and Audrey seem to have separated at some point before the show starts. It's not ultimately clear when exactly. They reunite in season 2 during Style Queen and renew their vows in Hearthunter in season 3. But if you have seen Hearthunter, you know that doesn't go super well. Then of course Zoe arrives in season 4 in Soul Crusher, who is Audrey's other daughter, who she presumably had during this period of separation from Andre with Mr. Lee. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Audrey cheated on Andre. Whilst technically she was still married to Andre, they didn't get divorced, and I guess technically she did cheat on him. It's quite common these days, maybe not so in other countries, but definitely in European countries, for couples to stay married but be separated and know they're not together as a couple and be with other people. That's quite normal here. So I don't necessarily would put the label on her as saying she cheated on him. I think Andre was well aware of what was happening. He just didn't seem like he dated anyone else in that meantime, whereas Audrey did. Whoever Mr. Lee is exactly though, not really sure. We don't really have much information on him, although it doesn't really seem like Andre knows anything about him anyway. And Zoe is also a year younger than Chloe. As for Andre's relationships, Audrey is quite controlling over him. I would personally describe it as like borderline coercive controlling, which is an element of emotional abuse. And Audrey also thinks her husband is useless and terrible. Chloe had a difficult time when she was a young child as she was neglected and abandoned by her mother, and as a result Andre overcompensated and spoiled Chloe instead of really raising her, which has led Chloe to being the way she is now, including demanding her half-sister Zoe be relegated to the staff quarters of the hotel. And speaking of Zoe, Andre and Zoe get along really, really well. He interacts with other people during the show, but honestly his family are really the only fact we're going to be discussing in this video, so I'm not really going to mention anyone else. But he has a relationship with Gabriel and some other people. We won't talk about it here. So if you don't remember, although I don't know how you couldn't, at the end of Collusion, Miss Bustier busts into Andre's office looking like a pregnant tube of toothpaste. He rehires the toothpaste because she got fired early in the episode. He then fires himself, which is otherwise known as resigning. Silly man, he's not fit to be mayor if he doesn't even know that word. And Chloe becomes mayor because that's how elections work. Ironically, you're going to be seeing this the week after. I'm filming this the day after the UK general election result came out. It's not how elections work, Chloe, God. And then Andre also divorces Audrey, and he divorces her because he knows he is married to an awful person who doesn't even like him and is horrible to him. And up until this point, I was with him. I was like, yep, André, you should never have married in the first place. Get away from her, get as far away from her as possible. Move to another continent if you have to. Move to South Africa, move to Australia. As far away, get as far away from this woman as you possibly can. I was like, great decision, André. I was with him at this point. So I was like, it's going well, it's going great. I love this little redemption he's getting. But then it kind of gets a bit disgusting. So he goes on to adopt Zoe, which I don't mind either because Audrey is an awful person. Get Zoe out of there. And then he leaves Chloe with Audrey, his wife, who he knows is abusive, because that's why he's divorcing her and why he takes Zoe, but leaves Chloe?
That doesn't make any sense.
Why on earth would you leave your child with someone you know is an abuser, André? Why would you do that? I know Chloe can be a nightmare, but André is part of the reason why Chloe is a nightmare. There are other factors, of course, I'm not saying it's all on him. Audrey's partially to blame, but so is André. I just don't get why that disgusting decision was made to leave Chloe with Audrey. Do the writers not actually read these scripts? As soon as they finish writing one, do they get mind wiped by the Men in Black and they forget everything? Actually, I think that would explain a lot about this show. It literally seems like they forget what happened in the last episode sometimes. So instead of André taking responsibility, he is made out as a victim, which, don't get me wrong, he absolutely is a victim of Audrey, but it makes out like he is the only victim of Audrey, and he completely rescinds all responsibility for Chloe, his child, his only child, his daughter, and he gets a happy ending with his stepdaughter Zoe, who does truly become a replacement for Chloe at this point. I really like Zoe in season 4, and to be fair, I still really like her. I wish we saw her a bit more and she got a bit more dimension to her. I know a lot of people say she's a Mary Sue, but I'm like, at this point, she's not in the show enough to be able to make that judgment. If you're gonna call Zoe a Mary Sue, then you need to start calling Julika that, and Rose that, and Mylene that, because they get the same amount of screen time but aren't called that. I feel at this point this fandom just calls someone a Mary Sue when they don't like someone, and they don't actually know what it means. However, my love for Zoe aside, at the end of season 5 it does truly seem like she becomes a replacement for Chloe, and André gets completely away with having a hand in making Chloe the way she is and gives up all of his responsibilities towards her and lets Audrey take Chloe away on a plane to somewhere, don't know, might be London, might not be, no idea, and Audrey's going to take control of Chloe's life again. Whatever that means exactly, but it doesn't sound good in my opinion. It just doesn't make sense, and not only does it not make sense, it goes against the message that the show was shoving down our throats just before it. 3 episodes prior, in Pretension episode 19, Felix and Kagami are in the sewers and he talks to her about the value of senti life, that you shouldn't just create something with the intention of destroying it and abandoning it. Yet, despite Felix saying that, which I agree with, by the way, I agree with this statement, this is ignored twice after he says it. One of the times is in episode 24, Representation, so 5 episodes later, when they create Once Upon a Time, which is the projector, to tell Marinette the story of the Grey and Donnelly family, which was just weird. And then after they're done, you see the feather floating in the room, because they destroyed it when they would finish with it when its purpose had been served. Goes completely against what Felix had just said, and this message about valuing the life you created is also ignored in Collusion and also in Revolution, where André just completely abandons Chloe. Now, granted, I know Felix was talking about senti monsters, and I don't believe Chloe's a senti monster. I know other people think she is, but there are confirmed to be 3 sentis in the show at the minute, and those are Adrian, Kagami, and Felix. However, I feel like Felix's little speech in the sewers can apply to all life, not just senti life. When you create life, you have a responsibility to care for that life and not abandon them, senti or otherwise. But André abandons Chloe. And not only does he abandon her, he leaves her with her abusive mother, whom he knows is abusive, because that's the reason why he's divorcing her and the reason why he takes Zoe. Why do he and Zoe get to be saved from Audrey, but Chloe doesn't? I know not everyone likes her, and I know she's not a very nice person, but that doesn't mean she deserves to be subject to abuse from her mother. But André does all of that, but it's painted as like, yep, this is the right decision, we made the right one here. to firstly dump your own responsibilities and secondly allow your abusive wife to control your daughter for goodness knows how long and whatever she's going to do to her exactly. It's completely disgusting. Why anyone on the writing team thought this was a good idea is completely and utterly beyond me. Pretending as if André leaving his daughter in the sole care of an abusive woman is a good decision, and then also pretending that it was an amazing decision for André to make and he's a better man for doing it, giving him a little redemption in the process. What? Like, I can't get behind them demonizing a child who is a product of her parents and then victimizing her dad, part of the reason she is the way she is. It's completely and utterly disgusting, and I don't get it. This is why I'm like all the time, I love Chloe, but I kind of hope she's not in the next few seasons, or really in the show at all anymore, because I just don't want them to ruin her any further. I don't think I could physically take it. Just me crying about the mistreatment of Chloe. The writing decisions doesn't make sense. I have no problem, I said this before, I don't care what they do in the show. As a writer, professional writer, and also as a fan of the show, are there things I would personally have done differently or would do differently in the future? Absolutely there would be. However, I'm not on the writing team, also wouldn't want to be at this point. No thank you. However, I don't judge things on like, well, it could have been this, it could have been that. I judge it for what it is. I don't care what decisions Miraculous makes, as long as they are good decisions that make sense. It seemed the idea with Chloe, although there is a rumour that the person who wrote season 2 wanted to give a redemption and it wasn't approved, but they did it anyway. How it got as far as it did, I don't know. But it seemed her plan trajectory was school bully, to have a bit of redemption. They decide, actually, no, she can't change, she's beyond all hope is lost, and then she becomes this horrible person who's even worse than she was in season 1. I don't mind that. I think that could be very interesting to explore, if done correctly. I don't care what Miraculous does, as long as they do a good job, and at the minute I'm just like, why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense. Do whatever you like in anything you are writing, you are making, as long as it makes sense. I just find it completely and utterly disgusting, and I do not get it. I don't understand. If Chloe is back next season, I'd be interested to see what they do with her. Although if I was Chloe, I would, quite rightly, want absolutely nothing to do with my dad. Absolutely not. No way. You couldn't even make me be in the same room with him, even with 30 other people present. I wouldn't be going near that man with a 10-foot barge pole. Absolutely not. Anyway, besties, that's just what I think about André's kind of little redemption that involves him abandoning the daughter he helped to create into the person she is now and then leave her with his ex-abusive wife, you know, because that's a good decision. I know I'm not the only person who was mad about it. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to it. There are a lot of ideas you all requested. But anyway, besties, I would love to know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!